A grim milestone for Windsor, Essex. The community surpasses 20,000 cases of COVID-19, with more than 450 of them lives lost. Folks in Wheatley are banding together to make the best of a bad situation. One business is offering a temporary home to shops that lost their locations after a gas explosion tore through the community's downtown. A live look outside there. We've still got temperatures above 20 degrees, but it will go down to 13 tonight. Colette Kennedy will be here with us later in the program for a look at what we can expect into the week. Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for watching. A big change is coming for the downtown mission. Its executive director announced that he will be leaving for another job. And as Jacob Barker reports, it comes at a time when operations at the shelter are in flux.
For people seeking food and shelter at the mission, today is just another day. A change at the top isn't top of mind for them.
All I know is the mission's a mission, and this is like my second home, so.
But over the weekend, Ron Dunn, its executive director, put in his notice, moving on to a job as CEO of Hospice Halifax. Unfinished business?
No, not really. I mean, the mission is poised to move into the future well. I think it's just time for somebody else to kind of get us over that finish line.
Dunn has worked at the shelter for the last 12 years and spent 2 years on its board. Today, he says he has mixed emotions. You know,
fondness, great memories, proud of the work that we've accomplished.
A departure being felt by the staff.
You know, people were sleeping on the floor, on mats, and now they have, nice beds to sleep in. We got a recovery program here. A lot of things.
But at times, the relationship between Dunn and the city has been tense. Last winter, when an outbreak hit the mission, he defied a health unit order to shut down, saying the city had been turning people away from its temporary shelter, which city officials denied.
Real-time admissions is what I'm asking for, and I don't think that's unreasonable. I just don't. If that puts me at odds with the mayor, so be it.
But this latest change comes as other changes are also on the horizon for the mission. The organization has to move out of its longtime location on Victoria Avenue by next summer. Meanwhile, the board is already on the hunt for a replacement for Dunn. Some say there are big shoes to fill.
Obviously, it is a lot of work. It is 100% a 24-hour-a-day job, 365 days a year. Ron does not rest and has not rested in the last 10 years.
But even without him, the work of the mission continues.
Well, I think that we all got to keep the faith, and we have to keep doing what we're doing and working hard on getting people housed, getting people into recovery programs like we have been doing, just getting people to the next level, and that's what it's all about, right?
With Dunn leaving in early November, the hope is the board can have someone in place by then. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
A fire at Kimball Building Supplies in Kingsville has left the business shaken. No one was injured during Sunday's blaze, but the owner says there's roughly $1.5 million in damages. The lumber supply and the equipment is all intact, but it's the store and the hardware that's been lost. While the cause is still being investigated, the business says there's a big road ahead to rebuild.
It's heart-wrenching, it really is, to see all this go down in literally a matter of hours. This is basically the whole storefront. It's the whole store, the whole hardware store, all the offices, all the retail side of Kimball's. Well, I got the call that the store was on fire, so I rushed down here to see. I entered the store at first, but the back wall was just full of flames, so I just backed right out. Other lumber yards in the area were kind enough to bring us some hardware supplies that obviously went up in the fire, so that kind of helps us, and a lot of our shipments will be in by the end of the week, so hopefully by the end of the week, Monday, it'll be different, but we'll be back full bore business. There has been a lot of support. It's been nice, that part anyways. Even a couple days after the fact, it's still, I don't think, quite sunk in yet. It'll take some time. There's a lot to process in a very short period of time. It took a lot of years to get it this far. It's going to take a bit to get it back to where it was. So it's tough. It is tough. It's a family business, right? I'm third generation. My grandfather started this with my father, and it's tough to see. It really is.
A business in Wheatley is doing what it can to help others affected by the August explosion. Taylor Fish Company is letting a coffee shop and an ice cream shop operate in its parking lot. Those businesses have not been allowed to return to their locations in the evacuation zone. They spoke with Jacob Barker about what that helping hand means to them.
We're very grateful, for sure. He also offered the trailer as well. It's his as well, so completely, like, he hasn't charged us anything, so we're very thankful for that, for sure. But yeah, being in a small community like this, it's really what people do. We come together and we help each other out, so it's been, I can't even, words don't even, like, I tell them thank you, but I feel like that's not enough.
When you realized that, you know, you were going to be closed and closed indefinitely, how are you feeling then?
It's hard to say.
It's almost
emotionally.
indescribable. Yeah, it's really hard because, you know, we were busy, we were doing our thing, and then next thing you know, you're asked to leave, and then you find out you won't be able to come back. Like, it's really hard. I can't even describe it.
Yeah, the emotional part is very hard, but if looking at the people around us and the help we've gotten, that really helps that. So it's the community just pulling together the way they have, and, you know, it just people working together. So it's been really good, that part.
I think what they're doing, I think is fabulous. I think it's fabulous for the businesses to give them a boost and help them stay open, even if it's only a little bit. Any little bit is helping. I think it's helping the community feel more normal.
Today marks the first jury trial in Windsor since the COVID-19 pandemic began. And that first case is a disturbing homicide where a mother was assaulted and killed in her apartment while her child was home. The CBC's Jason Vio got exclusive access inside the courtroom to see the drastic changes before the trial gets underway.
It's been 20 months since any juror walked up these steps into this courthouse to be a part of a trial. Inside, 4 of the 10 courtrooms at Superior Court are being used for one criminal trial, and the main courtroom looks very different. Jurors will now sit at the back in cushy office chairs where the public would normally sit. Those are spaced out to allow for physical distancing. The accused will instead be in a plexiglass box where those in the jury typically sit. And the justice, crown attorney, defense lawyer, and court staff will be in their own plexiglass bubbles as well. All of this will be streamed into 2 other courtrooms where the victim's family and other members of the public can watch. People at home can also request access to watch the proceedings on Zoom. And the 4th courtroom will serve as a deliberation room for the jury, giving them space to discuss the case. And what they'll be talking about is the brutal murder of 31-year-old Autumn Taggart in June of 2018. Court documents say someone broke into her bedroom at night, sexually assaulted her, and killed her. Those same documents allege the accused, Jitesh Bogle, told her 9-year-old son who was in the next room to go back to sleep, and that boy later heard screams from his mother's bedroom.
The family must be experiencing an anguish that, that's probably indescribable.
He says everyone should be concerned about delayed justice because it's a critical access to justice issue. Even though COVID-19 is causing even further delays, it still has implications.
You have people sitting in limbo, communities sitting in limbo. So not just the accused sitting in limbo in the sense that that person has not had the finality that the law promises, but the communities, victims of crimes, and people who are impacted. Even before the pandemic, there was an issue with delay. COVID has only, I think, amplified it and perhaps made it worse. But it's been around for a while, and I feel sorry for the family that they have had to experience this.
Locally, criminal defense lawyer Linda McCurdy says a client of hers who's a migrant worker was affected by delays brought on by COVID-19.
His status ran out, and so he wasn't able to reapply because he had serious charges going on, right? So his matter went over and over and over, and it got to the point where he wasn't able to get health care. So there's ramifications for him.
Now that the first criminal jury trial is underway, jury selection is expected to last all week. Evidence will begin to be heard next week, and the entire trial is expected to take about 8 weeks. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
Since March of last year, more than 20,000 people in Windsor, Essex have caught COVID-19. It's an unfortunate milestone that we surpassed over the Thanksgiving long weekend. Today, the health unit reported a 4-day total of 110 new cases. Overall, 458 people have died as a result of the virus since the beginning. Despite the grim numbers, the health unit says we are seeing a slowdown of the fourth wave and that the region is getting a better handle on cases. That said, the region still has the fourth highest COVID-19 rate among health units across Ontario. Rapid antigen tests are becoming the go-to for many Canadians concerned about safety in schools, workplaces, and social gatherings. They're relatively easy to administer and provide an early warning of a COVID-19 infection, but there are questions around their reliability and cost. Christine Birak demonstrates the procedure and details the science.
The days of long lineups at COVID-19 testing sites are gone. PCR lab tests remain the gold standard in detecting any genetic material from the virus, but appointments and results can take days. Now, there's a growing push for wider use of at-home rapid antigen tests. Results can take minutes. They don't always detect early cases, but published studies show rapid tests can detect over 93% of cases in people carrying high viral loads who are likely to infect others.
If it's done frequently enough, you have a very good chance at catching people before they show symptoms, while they're actually infectious.
This is a passion fruit.
Preventing that spread can help keep societies open, but rapid tests need to be used properly. So we asked pharmacist Kiro Massett for some help.
Show me how I do my own rapid antigen test.
Sure. The first step you're going to do is...
After squeezing 10 drops of test solution into a tube, we need a sample.
I've done this once before.
Not as high up as PCR test swabs.
Squeeze and twist.
But still 5 to 10 seconds in each nostril.
You have the sample that goes inside this test tube in here.
After 2 minutes of stirring, the solution gets dropped onto the test. And then we wait for 15 minutes. If enough coronavirus is present in the sample, the spike proteins will stick to a row of antibodies embedded in the first line on the test. If not, the sample flows through to the control line.
That means you're negative.
But keep in mind,
if you do test positive with this test, we strongly urge you to isolate and validate that result with a PCR.
Now we're going to open the swab.
To be truly effective, rapid tests need to be done every 2 to 3 days. Tamara Robbins-Griffith was hoping they could help keep her children safe at school. Easy to use, but they're expensive. While German grocery stores sell rapid tests for roughly $1, Americans pay about $8. In Canada, it's usually $40 or more.
It's cost prohibitive to test twice a week. I will probably save them for when we're having a visit with a family member before anybody is inside together without masks on. Looks good.
She acknowledges not everyone can afford them. Some provinces, including Ontario, are reserving rapid antigen tests for businesses and some schools. But experts insist these tests can help keep everyone safer. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
We now turn to international news and the plight in Afghanistan. A G20 meeting today has resulted in unanimous agreement among the participants about the need to tackle Afghanistan's mounting humanitarian crisis. And the European Union is increasing its promise of emergency aid to €1 billion. The leaders also focused on the plight of Afghan women and girls. CBC's Susan Ormiston is continuing her reporting from Kabul. In another Canadian broadcast exclusive, Susan shows us how the reversal in women's rights is being keenly felt in Afghan schools.
This is Malalai School for Girls in Kabul, reopened after a tumultuous few months and after the Taliban takeover. Students are shrugging off first the pandemic, then the politics, but something fundamental and disturbing has changed here.
When school started this year, 1,000 girls were told to stay home. They can't come to school. This is a grade 9 classroom, and it's empty, like 22 others in this school. No students, not at all this year. Girls in grades 7 to 12 in Afghanistan are not allowed to go to school. It's suspended. Some believe it's a temporary measure until an Islamic curriculum is put in place, but ask grade 6 girls, and they're really worried they won't be able to come back next year.
Next year, we want to continue our studies. At the prestigious Kabul University, women students have no classes for now. Zwak, not her real name, is a student activist, afraid but defiant.
In lots of TV interviews, the high-ranking officials of Taliban told that it's not necessary that girls got educated. I'm an educated girl, and it's insulting and abusive thing for girls.
The Taliban says girls will return to class, and recently in one city, some have. But plenty of fear still that girls will be second class, erasing 20 years of progress. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Kabul.
A live look outside there. We had some beautiful temperatures and beautiful sunshine over the weekend, but we've got another great week ahead of us. Colette Kennedy will be here with a complete look at the coming days and the weather in store. She'll be here right after the break. Stay with us. Today marks the 150th anniversary of the Great Windsor Fire. On this day in 1871, a massive blaze ripped through Windsor's downtown core, destroying upwards of hundreds of buildings. The fire started at Olette Avenue and Pitt Street and quickly spread from there. And at the time, almost all of the buildings in Windsor's downtown were wooden structures, which allowed the fire to spread quickly. The fire was too much for the local fire department to handle, and reinforcements were called in from Detroit to help battle the blaze. It's believed that the fire started from an unattended iron at a downtown shop, and miraculously, no one was hurt. Colette Kennedy is here for a look at weather. Colette, we had a gorgeous, gorgeous weekend for Thanksgiving, and now kind of dipping the other way, the dial is now very gray.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit in terms of some changes, but with the mild weather, it's still going to be here for another few days in terms of being way above seasonal, but we are seeing some subtle changes. It did come down a little bit today from yesterday's high of 27 degrees. I mean, come on, that's incredible. So still mild today, but also seeing the humidity drop just a little bit as that front has been going through, and that's just bringing the dew points down a bit. We're not going to really see a significant system to change our temperatures till we get towards the end of the week. So there's that colder air to the west and that deep trough, and we are still sitting pretty here into the warm sector with above seasonal readings. Holding on at 20 degrees right now. Chatham-Kent at 22. London, you've got low 20s there at 21 degrees. A little bit of humidity, but again, just a little bit, right? And some of the storms, in fact, okay, mostly it's rain showers, but a few isolated storms as well with that front, because it's providing lift to that buoyant air that's now ahead of us and beyond us to the east. And so through the pattern into tomorrow, what we're going to find is that we will see clearing through the day. So there will be some cloud cover, and then we'll see things improving into the afternoon. But watch what happens here as I push this forward, is then the next system is on that one's heels. Still not the really strong one that we're going to be more concerned about or just see more changes with. But on Thursday morning, I do have rain showers in the forecast. But you'll notice when we get to the 5-day, I've kind of put mostly cloudy, because there'll be times during the day when we're going to get into some sunshine as well. So some heavier cloud, we'll get some breaks in there too. It doesn't look like the whole day is a write-off. And then on that one's heels for Friday, that's when we have some rain coming in, but also some embedded thunderstorms there. This one will be a stronger one and make those changes. So overnight tonight, still above seasonal, a few lingering showers or isolated storms. Those will push through. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll get into this clearing eventually, okay, so not quite as much sunshine earlier in the day, and there you are, up to 23 degrees for that high. Thursday, there's the extra cloud cover, but remember, morning, some rain showers, and then Friday, 20 degrees. And here, it's not just what happens, Katerina, to the daytime highs, which will be an adjustment, but the overnight lows, too, as they drop back closer to where they should be.
Yeah, totally. But I got to say that that's actually more sun in the forecast than I was anticipating, so that's a relief for me.
Okay, we do have a few bright spots in there.
Awesome. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, a science fiction film helps explore the history of Canada's past with Indigenous peoples. We'll bring you that right after the break. In the U.S., pharmaceutical giant Merck has asked the Food and Drug Administration to authorize emergency use of a pill to treat COVID-19. The request from the American drug maker comes after it submitted data from a phase 3 clinical trial. Data suggests it is effective against all coronavirus variants, including the Delta, and it can be taken at home instead of the situation with current therapies, which require a visit to the hospital. And turning now to a new science fiction film set in the future. It is incorporating elements of Canada's past with Indigenous peoples. Night Raiders follows the life of a Cree woman and her fight to reclaim her daughter. Eli Glasner has this look at how the movie came together and how its sci-fi setting helped the film explore history.
Only past necessity. In a forest outside Toronto, Cree warriors prepare to flee from government forces hunting children.
Soldiers! Soldiers on the perimeter!
We're on the set of the movie Night Raiders by Cree Métis director Danis Goulet. Set in the year 2043, the story takes place in a shattered nation.
Who lives here? The city went dark after the war.
Where the state rips children from their families, forcing them into school.
No one can see your face.
Goulet says the sci-fi approach gives her more freedom.
You can be as political as you want, and because you're in a totally fictional universe, you can say whatever you want to say.
And in this near future scenario, the Cree warriors, the Night Raiders, are fighting back. Although the story is science fiction, the trauma it unearths is real, so they tread carefully.
So we do smudging on set. We do many things to keep our actors safe because we know they're bringing their lived experience to the set.
The heart of Night Raiders is about a mom fighting for her daughter. Both actors playing those pivotal roles have felt the ripple effects of residential schools. For Brooklyn Letexier Hart, it was her grandmother.
When I got to the age about 11, 12, she started talking more about the trauma she went through.
For Elmaya Tailfeathers, her grandfather.
I know that he ran away from school too many times to count, and that it was a really hard experience for him.
For them, it isn't about the pain of the past, but the resilience to move forward.
And I know that it was our culture and our ancestors and the strength of who we are as a people that kept us alive and got us through those violent systems. And so, Night Raiders is an allegory. It's a physical representation of that strength. Touch our hearts and give our allegiance.
A vision of the future with a message for the present. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
And lastly, wildlife officials in Colorado have stepped in to help a male elk get rid of his spare tire. The animal has been spotted with a tire stuck around his neck for at least 2 years. And over the weekend, he was found with a herd of about 40 other elk, and wildlife officers moved in. The elk was tranquilized and its antlers were cut off so the tire could be removed over its head. A spokesperson said they were unable to cut through the tire itself, but the antlers will grow back. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can check out our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, and we're on social media as well, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.